Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Mr. Burns here with Mr. Church behind the camera, and this is our task 1 activity, bouldering.
To the ins and outs of bouldering in relation to its role as a health-related fitness activity, we want to acknowledge the sport for what it is and how participation occurs. So bouldering is rock climbing that is essentially broken down into its essential components. So this means there's no use of ropes and there's no use of harnesses, just climbing shoes. So the difference with bouldering compared to rock climbing is the scaling of shorter walls whilst being protected by a thick padded floor that's down below. Bouldering is fastly becoming one of the most social sports around, and due to its lack of equipment and the challenging aspect of this activity, it is fast, fun, and easy to learn and enjoy as a health-related fitness activity.
Okay, so we've designed this session for stage 5 with the following content focus area in mind. So we're looking at how can I use feedback to create adaptations to movement skills to make them more effective in different contexts. And this is for our students, of course. Okay, so I'm just going to unpack this content area a little bit more so we can look at how this session is meeting the needs of this. So we're looking at providing and applying feedback to develop and refine specialized movement skills in a range of challenging movement situations for our students. And so this is basically what our session is devised around, okay? Students are going to be paired up, as we'll see later in the video, and we're focusing on introducing a new range of skills which they're going to be developing via the use of feedback between them, their partner, teachers, and also staff members at the venue as well, okay? So students are also going to be demonstrating fundamental and specialized movement skills in a variety of increasingly complex and challenging activities. So this is looking at learning these new skills and developing upon these in the increasingly difficult and the large variety of runs which they're going to be completing at the venue in bouldering as well, okay? So students are also going to be looking at adapting, transferring, and improvising creative movement skills in increasingly demanding contexts, including varying space, rules, equipment and apparatus, time restrictions, and rhythm, okay? So this is where that discovery-based learning is going to come in for this session here, where it's the real trial and error aspect for each of the runs for this part of the, for this aspect of the syllabus, I should say, where students are going to be beginning these runs after that they've originally planned out. Things aren't going to work out, and they're going to have to be using those creative movement skills in order to branch out and try different things and see what else is going to work for each run which they're going to be performing. Okay, so students are also going to be performing specialized movement skills for a range of movement contexts. So obviously in the context of a teaching and learning program for movement skill and performance for stage 5, this is going to provide a varied movement context or a different environment for students to be using these movement skills in as well. And finally, last but not least, respond to teacher and peer feedback to enhance movement performance, which I've already mentioned. Students are going to be bouncing off that feedback from their partners, teachers, and staff members in order to develop these skills to the best of their ability. Okay, so this activity, in terms of health-related fitness components, this activity is going to be concerning the following. So it's going to be muscular endurance, flexibility, and strength. So muscular endurance, bouldering is primarily a form of muscular endurance training, as the body is going to be sustaining contractions in mostly the legs, forearms, and hands over a long period of time during contractions and during the entirety of a session. So therefore, students are going to have an opportunity to exemplify this area of health-related fitness components throughout the entirety of this session. Secondly, we're going to look at strength, because bouldering is ultimately the product of strength and muscular endurance, as strength determines someone or an athlete's ability to climb up a wall or different walls of varying difficulties. So we're looking at students' ability to push and pull their body weight up a range of different difficulty levels for the walls in this session. And finally, we're looking at flexibility, as flexibility is also going to be a key concern for this activity, as students are forced to move their bodies into a range of different movements, and therefore we're going to be prioritizing a comprehensive warm-up at the start to avoid injury or any uncomfortable positions for our students to place their bodies in to get up the wall.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the structure of our session. So in terms of the structure of the session, it's going to be broken down into 3 main parts. So the first part, we're going to have the students start on the easiest difficulty. This is just to gain an understanding of the skill itself and what they'll be doing for the rest of the session. For the second session, students will choose whether or not, if they feel like they are capable enough, to move on to the medium difficulty. So this includes the orange and yellow boulders. For the third session, students are welcome to roam around each different difficulty level, as long as it's not from the black and under, as long as it's in the black and under. During these sessions, as we break off and come back, we'll come back as a class and consolidate. So These questions of consolidation will be included in our 2-page sheet that adjoins this, that adjoins our video. This is also going to include differentiation. So how these movements are differentiated among students is also going to be included in our 2-page sheet.
Okay, so now we're going to go a bit more into our pedagogical approach for this session. If you want to look for further details of this, they'll be in our complimentary sheet, which is complimentary to this video. So upon arriving at the venue, the students are going to be split up into pairs, and then they're going to be taken through a quick safety tutorial, which prioritizes a few things like how to safely scale the wall, how to safely climb down, and most importantly, how to safely fall from the wall as well. So we'll now just take a quick look at a video about how to do this taken at the venue itself. Okay, so we've arrived at the venue. Watched the safety video outlining a few of the safety precautions for this type of activity. A few of these are going to be such things as where to leave your belongings whilst during the session, where to pick up your hire equipment, and also to keep the mats free of your belongings and other things like that to enable safe landing and safe climbing of the walls. So now the students are going to be given an opportunity to practice one of these safe landings, okay? So a few teaching considerations for this part of the activity are going to be as follows, okay? So what we want is the students to be as low down on the wall as they possibly can be. We don't want any drops from high up which are going to cause any injuries. When the students are let going of the wall as well, we want them to remain facing the wall as they're falling through the air too. The reason for this is that if the students are turning around and trying to catch their fall before they hit the ground or something like that, that's going to cause injuries to hands, arms, legs, things like that as well, okay? So upon hitting the ground, we want the students to land in the motorbike position, bed legs, hands out in front, absorbing that force of the fall. And then upon absorbing the force of the fall, we just want them to fall backwards into a roll onto their back, hands on the chest like so. In a bit more of a smoother motion than that. So now I'll demonstrate on the wall what we want to see from the students performing this at the front of the venue. Nice and close to the ground. Just like that. Okay, so following this, students are going to be shown how to correctly scale a wall and then climb down correctly. This is also going to be accompanied with a sheet with the various teaching points and safety considerations for how to correctly scale a wall, which their partner will fill out for each of the runs which they perform. We will now watch a video which Mr. Church and I performed earlier about how to correctly scale and climb down a wall.
I'm at the yellow stage, which on our board you can see is one of the medium levels. So with your students, you want to encourage them to use the easier levels. If they're confident enough, you can progress to a level such as this. So obviously I've picked my run, I've planned it. So we start at our tags right here. Okay, so using these ones, these are more so about the ones that you want to use your hands for, but these are more so for your feet. Okay, so I might hand over to Mr. Burns behind the camera. So Mr. Burns, you mind stepping off the platform so that I have a free space behind me?
Of course, Mr. Church.
And do you mind providing me a bit of feedback as to when I start to play?
Yeah, no worries. So Mr. Church is just beginning this run, and I'm facilitating the role of his partner in this activity to provide some feedback. So I'm going to be looking at explaining to him when he needs to be pushing up through his legs a bit more to maybe gain a bit more height. Mr. Church, don't forget those yellow ones over there to the right. Those will help you get to the end of the run. Things like that. Also providing words of encouragement as well while I'm doing this. The purpose of standing this far back was also to enable a safe space for Mr. Church to land if he was to fall off. And look at him go. He's already made it to the top. All right, so Mr. Church has finished his run now. He's really, really high up the wall. He's just going to begin climbing down now to correctly execute a fall. So as you can see, he's getting as close as he can to the floor and preparing his body to fall back and land and complete the roll there.
This video has given you a grip on how to implement this health-related fitness activity for your future endeavours as a teacher for your Stage 5 students.